The game has many faces, and everyone has a story. My name is Jeremy Sheetinger, and come along for the journey as the farm system explores where the game was, where it is, and where it's going. From big league clubhouses to little league parks, this game has a lot to offer. For the first time ever, this series will attempt to pull back the curtain and demystify the game. The stories, those are endless as we pull perspectives from inside professional baseball, down through all levels of college, into high school and youth baseball, the highest levels of softball, business professionals, and even training facilities. Come along as we connect the dots and celebrate the special people from within our community telling their stories from inside the game we all love. This is The Game.
Everyone has a story. I'm Tim Scannell, and this is the story of Trinity Baseball. Originally from Boston, Massachusetts, a town just about 10 minutes south of Boston, Weymouth. I'm the youngest of 7 boys and a girl. We were a real athletic family, but nobody played baseball. So as a little kid, I don't know what gravitated me to the game, but I just started to play, Little League, and it just kind of climbed from there.
Everyone has a story. My name is Joe Urso, and this is the story of Tampa Baseball. It started in Little League, like most, with big dreams of hopefully playing in the big leagues one day. And my dad was president of Palmacy Little League, and I just pretty much lived every day at the Little League park. And we would go play our Saturday game, and right when the game was over, we would go to a neighborhood house and start to play another wiffle ball game or a cup ball game or anything we could do to be swinging a bat, or it really was, you felt like it was all day until night got us, and to send us home, that we were trying to play the game.
Everyone has a story. I'm Monty Lee, and this is the story of Clemson Baseball. My upbringing in the game, I was blessed. I was really blessed. As a child, it's interesting. My dad was a baseball player, and my mom was a really good athlete. So I grew up in a very athletic household. But I was blessed to have 2 parents that never put any pressure on me to perform, ever. We never discussed the good games or the bad games after the game. I was their son.
So it's 5 swings, 2, 2.5, rotate out, and we just keep this thing going. Metzi, you'll start off at third. I'll fungo you. We'll go fungo. I was athletic. I had a really good arm. I could move. I could cover ground. But I had a high volume of errors. I was a mistake-prone infielder. I never knew that intermediate flip throw. I was always kind of rearing back and letting it rip. Ironically, going back to the Red Sox, the guy that I kind of modeled my game after, I don't know if you guys will know this reference, but Rick Burleson was this short, power-armed shortstop. And as a kid, that's how I saw the game. And so as a shortstop, I would field, gather, shuffle twice or 3 times, unload it, and make a ton of errors. And so I think it took me a long time to kind of work through the real nuances and skill sets of a shortstop. And I think I finally got there when I was older, but yeah, I probably drove a lot of coaches crazy with how I played.
Played high school baseball at Plant High School, home of Wade Boggs, and we were the 1988 state champions, so it was a pretty special time. And then I was recruited by University of Tampa and was able to come here 4 years as starting second baseman and be part of their first national title in '92 before signing professionally with the Angels. I had a nice minor league career, wasn't good enough to make it to the big leagues, but was able to play for 5+ years.
Always played on the worst teams growing up, like in rec ball, never played on a good team. So when I got to high school, I was very, very blessed to play in a really, really good high school baseball program, a program that won 2 state championships. I was a part of one of them in 1993. So there was a lot of discipline, very fundamentally sound program. I was taught the fundamentals, how to run the bases, how to situational hit, how to play defense the right way. Just very, very structured and detailed. When I got to college, I played for a guy that just let us play.
Well, I was in AA at the time, and I saw the numbers were going to get me, and I could be a release at any time. And I talked with Ken Forsch, who was running our minor leagues at the time, and let him know that I was interested in going back to A-ball if I was, on the verge of getting released, and I could help some of their prospects up the middle. They had a young group of guys, one Aaron Gao, who made it to the big leagues, and sure enough, he did. There wasn't a coaching job available, but he sent me down there for a couple years as a player coach, and I played out that role, and it was always a dream of mine to play in the big leagues, but I figured once it was done, I knew I wanted to keep the uniform on my back as long as I could, and was just very thankful they gave me that opportunity.
The beauty of playing in the environment that I played in college was you had to be super self-motivated if you were going to help yourself as a player. We didn't get a lot of hitting instruction. We had basically a batting cage, a bucket of balls, and like 1 tee. So there was a lot of exploration as a player in my college years of swing development. So I spent a lot of time by myself with a tee or with a group of my peers working on things together.
My original love was basketball. I loved high school basketball, but I had enough of talent to be recruited as a college baseball player. So that took me to the University of Maine, where I was there a year and a half, transferred to Northeastern in Boston and had a great experience there. Then I got into coaching at UMass, Northeastern, and then Trinity.
When I got in professional baseball, it was like a new world to me. Just actually having a hitting instructor talk to you about approach or talk about the swing, and then obviously building upon that, going into coaching. Probably my first experience in coaching, I was blessed to coach one of the top 5 junior college teams in the country, Spartanburg Methodist. So I had elite athletes who could hit. But one of the things that I learned really, really early on is that you can't just overhaul and change everybody to what you think they should be. And I felt like as a young coach early on as a hitting instructor that I could cookie cut guys and make them do certain things a certain way because I felt like that was what was best for that player. And I realized really early on that doesn't work. That there are guys that don't have necessarily great swings who can really hit, and guys, also who have good fundamental swings that can't hit. So it taught me a lot early on as a young assistant about that, but I had a burning passion to help players on the development side.
Then you don't. You seem well or you wrong, listen up, cuz. And if you don't, then you don't. You seem well or you wrong, if you know, then you know. And if you don't, then you don't. You seem well or you wrong.
Everybody feel it, come around with the rhythm, it's a sound. Everybody get down when we give it to you. Everybody feel it, come around with the rhythm, it's a sound. Everybody get down, give it to you. Everybody feel it, come around with the rhythm, sound. Everybody get down when we give it to you. Everybody feel it, come around with the rhythm, it's a sound. Everybody get down when we give it to you.
When guys are in their forward move, how their belt buckle stays parallel to the ground. Same thing with a pitcher. Their belt buckle stays parallel to the ground. They stay what we call braced, right? Like got a chance to go into South Carolina and coach there with Hall of Fame coach Ray Tanner, who gave me just full autonomy. I was the hitting coach, base running coach, outfield coach. Just having that self-motivation that I had from my college days of having to figure things out on my own, I really developed what I felt like was a good philosophy over the years there of working with players.
When I got recruited, I went to University of Maine, phenomenal coaching staff, legendary coach in John Waken had taken them to Omaha, I think the year before I got there. Coach Bob Whalen, who's longtime coach at Dartmouth, was the recruiting coordinator, and then Mike Coots. They were a phenomenal coaching staff.
Coming to college was probably one of the toughest decisions I've had to make in my life. We were was married, and our first child was on the way. And I was managing, at a young age with the Angels, so I felt like that they had a nice plan for me, in professional baseball. But I just at the time felt like I didn't have the big league background, so I thought it was going to be, one of those 20-plus year grinds in the minors as a manager before finally getting an opportunity. Then
became a head coach and just have continued that path of just putting the players first, putting their development first. Teaching them to be competitive, to be tough, how to use the game of baseball in their own life, that dealing with adversity in the game is going to help you if you embrace that adversity and the struggle and the failure and the messy side of the game, which we all know is there.
This is why we've been working so hard to get to this point to play against somebody else. So be the best teammates you can be tomorrow, right? Every time we're going to play 14 innings and guys are going to toe the rubber. 14 different guys are going to pitch tomorrow. Every time one of our guys goes out there tomorrow, we're all behind him, right? We are all behind him. Everybody on defense is behind that guy on the mound, right? I want their head coach to say, God dang, you talk about good energy and doing things the right way. Man, your guys brought it every pitch. That door says compete every pitch. When you walk out here, you compete every pitch. I compete every pitch. When Max Wagner's up at the plate, let's go, Max. Let's go. Get him right here, Max. When Olechuck's on now, let's go, Ty. Make your pitch right here. I got you. I'm going to make a play behind you right here. Right? That's what we've got to do every single pitch tomorrow. I don't care what the scoreboard says. I could care less what that scoreboard says tomorrow. I want to see a team compete every pitch and compete through each other.
And that's really what I've been doing, basically my whole life. I feel like I'm more experienced now as a head coach after all those years of experience, but I'm still the same guy I was when I was 24 years old, just getting into coaching. I still have a burning passion to maximize the development of every player that plays for me.
So I finished up at Northeastern in '91, and I knew I wanted to get into coaching, didn't really know how. And a real good friend of mine who I played in the Cape Cod League offered me an opportunity to go be a volunteer at UMass Amherst under Mike Stone. But in order to keep money in my pocket, I worked at Northeastern. So Boston to Amherst is like I forget now, probably 2.5 hour ride. And I was commuting back and forth between practices and being able to do this hourly wage job at Northeastern. And I loved it. That's when I knew I definitely wanted to coach.
And I presented it to my wife, who I met in California. She trusted that the college route would be a better family job. And sure enough, when this opened up, I interviewed and was able to get the job. And a day later, our first child was born in California. So it was an emotional roller coaster, but best move I've made for our family.
The reality of D3 and D1 and every other level in between, right, is that if you start with some ability, then the next important thing is getting to a place, doesn't matter what level it is, where you can develop, and the only way to develop is to get out on the field. So you kind of got to be a big fish, small pond, right, at D3.
It's human nature to focus on the opponent and to focus. We're playing South Carolina today. We're playing Miami, Louisville, Georgia Tech, North Carolina, NC State. The list goes on and on and on, right? Every opponent that steps in that dugout in the ACC is pretty dang good. You know that you're dealing with a talented club, but let's not forget what Clemson does. Let's focus on what we do. Regardless if there's 100 people in the stands or 8,000 people in the stands, that really should not dictate what happens between the lines. The game is between the lines, and if we do what we do as a program, we're going to put ourselves in a position to be successful.
UT baseball really took off when Tino Martinez came here in the mid to late 80s, and they had a national runner-up, and that's when a lot of the bigger recruits started coming in, and we started to become a dominant Division II program.
Trinity, we're able to recruit nationally. It's unbelievable. We have kids from Seattle, all over California, Denver, Chicago, Arizona's been huge for us. And then we all of a sudden sprinkle in these East Coast kids. We have a Philadelphia transfer from University of Richmond. So when you look at the big picture, this thing really comes down to, what's your desire to work every day? What's your confidence level in yourself? Getting on that field, getting high volume reps, kind of being the guy at this level as opposed to being a backup player at another level. I always call it the leapfrog effect, that we're gonna have guys that are gonna leapfrog the kid that literally went to a big time school.
When I came back, to college baseball, it was, I was taking over a program that was already successful. So I didn't have to, build it or start from the ground up. It was more about maintaining the tradition here. It was really about, to be recognized as a great coach at University of Tampa. We knew that we had to win a national title.
When you're on defense, who are you playing against? You're playing against the ball. That's what you're playing. Now, we moved the guys to where we think the ball's going to go, but you're playing against the ball. You're not playing against Georgia Tech's 3-hole hitter. You're playing against the ball. And if you just focus on doing what I can do, control what I can control to help my team win and compete every pitch, it doesn't matter who's in the other dugout, and it doesn't matter how many fans are in the stands. The only people that matter are the dudes that are in the dugout with you. Those are your brothers. That's who you go to war with. That's who you've got their back day in and day out, and that's all that matters.
But I always look at it this way. There's D1, and then there's D1. And there's D3, and then there's D3. And so, unfortunately, in D3, a lot of the scheduling that we'll have are universities that may not have the resources. They may not hire a coach that wants to put the time, hours, and effort into recruiting. And so the product is just this kind of average to below average product.
I think a lot of kids, they grow up and all they're thinking about is the Florida States and Miamis of the world. But when Tino turned down every big Division I to come here, I think it was our time to realize, okay, we have a powerhouse program right in our backyard, and that's where you started seeing all the local talent staying right here, and it became a great family atmosphere with our parents and grandparents in the stands, always rooting us on.
The game day environment is great here at a place like Clemson and in the ACC because we know a lot of people are going to come to the games. It's awesome. But it's really just an opportunity for us to express to all the fans what we've been working on all week. And that's what I try to get our guys to understand is let's just focus on what goes on between the lines and focus on our dugout. Who cares about the crowd? Who cares about the opponent? Let's just do what we do.
Because we have a great school, because we have the resources behind us, great field, you see this athletic building, the weight room, because we're in a power athletic state like Texas, and then location, we can draw all these other states like Arizona, California. Yeah, we get some really good players. And so I would say we're more like a mid-level D1 athletes running around than we resemble more of that than we do D3.
We started beefing up the offense with some junior college players, so we were starting to transition a little bit from the high school player into some more junior college guys and realized if we were going to keep this program at the top every year, it would take a little bit more of a mature kid coming from a junior college that had a little bit more experience. And although it took us a few years to get back to the top, and we had some opportunities, we went in with some great teams, and we were runner-up one year, and then finally in 06.
We started that year off, I think, 2-4, 2-3, or something like that. Then only lost 2 games the rest of the year. So it was an amazing team. They did everything right. There's not much we could tell them. I mean, it was just just go play. I mean, they were that talented. Well, we get to the World Series and we're in the championship game and we're down a run in the 9th inning with 2 outs.
No one on, down 1 to Cal State Chico. And
I remember our assistant coach at the time, Frank Maldonado, leaning over to me and saying, how are we going to explain to these kids that they just weren't good enough, that they fell short?
I remember looking up into the suite and there's, my boss, Larry Marfise, Ron Vaughn, our president, with all the big boosters.
I still remember sitting on a bucket in Alabama and you're like, wow, it finally got here and it's not going to happen.
And it's just like, you think about it that way, you're like, it's true. After everything that we went through this season.
And then the rally started.
Ted Corrado getting a 2-strike base hit, Roberto Mena getting a 2-strike base hit, Troy Ferguson getting a 2-strike base hit, Craig sliding headfirst into home, and you're like, oh, we're still alive, and then we take the lead in the 10th. Sergio Perez comes out of the bullpen to get the 3 outs, and it was like, this just happened.
Once we won that, I jumped into Coach Militello's arm like a little kid, and we had finally done it. And we finally got our title.
And it's like we took a huge leap in this program.
And with that group of dudes that we have, we still get together almost every year, at least once, and it's you remember that day like it was yesterday. And that bond that we have with those dudes is so special that something you'll never forget.
Hey, y'all want to see me do a magic trick? Bam, baby! Y'all didn't know that was coming up. That's some magic right there. All right, listen. This is called the Farm Board Max. Okay, listen, before I already hear the gimmick guy, I already hear the guys coming in with the gimmicks. What's the difference between this thing and also that little farm board that we also got as well? Man, I already got the normal farm boards. We got the Farm Board Max coming out. Okay, listen, this is a brand new tool that we've been utilizing with so many guys in-house. Listen, I've had pro guys tell me, right? Listen, this has changed my life. This is the tool. This is what I've been looking for. This changed everything for me. I won't even bore y'all with all the things. I want you to feel it yourself, okay? So Farm Board Max also is coming with, and you guys been long anticipated. Y'all been blowing me up here for a minute. You guys have been going after me saying, listen, I want a Farm Board Level 2 course. Well, guess what? New tool, new course.
Thank you, Jesus.
And this course, we're gonna cover so many different things. One, about the philosophy, the things that actually, what we got wrong in biomechanics. Yes, I was wrong at certain points in my life too, right? All right, some of them were yesterday, some of them today. We just keep moving, okay? Things we got wrong, things we've learned from having a force plate in-house, different breakthroughs that we've had with athletes, and different ways of looking about utilization within all of that. And also two, drills that are attached to it, and also different ways we use it during prep work. And also, what is the difference between a Farm Board Max and a normal farm board? When do we use it? Why did we need another tool? What's the differences between the two? How do they give unique feels? What is all of that? We're gonna cover all of that in this course.
Once again, a couple different photos. Here's the 92 championship. There's my big nose there after we won the first one. Do your best to edit the mess. I apologize, but the guys come in and they pretty much make themselves at home around here with the couch and table. We got the championship pictures from each year, championship bases from each year, and this is what it's about. You know, get on the wall. We lost a lot of guys off that team. With Sergio and some of the main arms. Ross Jackson was another big part of that pitching staff. So we went out and signed some junior college guys. Kevin Ferguson, Jonathan Holt became the biggest piece of the puzzle in 2007. He was actually our closer, and he ended up starting the last game of the World Series. We felt like he was going to try to help us keep the game close for 5 innings, and then we'd have to go to the bullpen, and sure enough, he goes out and throws an 85-pitch complete game for us to win it again and go back-to-back.
In the D3 level, there's no roster limitations, and so nobody wants to recruit 6 shortstops. And one of my frustrations is that we work really hard at recruiting. We spend a lot of money at recruiting, and we spend a lot of time at recruiting. We don't cut a corner on recruiting. Coach Waters basically will follow almost any Ivy League kid anywhere to get to the right tournaments, see the right people. So we're putting the resources into it financially.
Clemson is a one heartbeat town. That's the way that I would describe it. You know, everybody's heartbeat is purple and orange. Everybody here is here for a reason. They either work at the university or they go to school here. So it's really all eyes are on Clemson when you live in Clemson and what the athletic teams are doing and what's going on campus. So from a student athlete's perspective, you come to Clemson because you want that type of experience. You want to have all your social gatherings on campus. So my guys are going to go to the volleyball matches, the basketball games, the football games. We don't practice on football game day. Like, you can't get in here. But it's a special place because it's a one heartbeat type of town. There's only 2 highways coming into Clemson. They both have orange paws in the road as you're coming into town. So you have to be committed to come to Clemson.
But how it all comes together is frustrating because there's no letter of intent. The agreement is more like, Coach, I'm coming, and this is where I want to be. When the kid's really good, we're so excited for about that. But the better the kid, the more likelihood he's coming in January, but he blows up a little bit in April, and he's gone in May and June. And that happens over and over and over. I can't tell, we probably average 7 to 11 key recruits that we're going to lose to Division I and IIs like that, or JUCO in Texas, because these are great opportunities for them baseball-wise. And I don't blame them. I never can blame them.
Every championship team talks about chemistry, and that's not easy to build each year, especially with our recruiting philosophy now, with getting a lot of junior college guys that are only here for a couple of years. So when they get here, they go to the leaders, the returners, and you see the extra work they're going to do in the weight room, the extra work they're going to do at the field. These guys, we don't have to tell them, show up early. They know they need to get here, they need to work, because to stay on top and to answer everyone's best punch that they're going to give us, we better work our tail off.
And so what we do is we recruit heavily, and we hope that the right players come. And so now that starts what we do on the field, which is every day we essentially practice on the front end. We give every kid the same amount of reps. When it's here, you just need to get to it and through it. You don't need to fight it. It's just staying through it. And then we get to a scrimmage format at some point every day.
I think it's the best way to do it, in my opinion, because not only are we evaluating, but everybody's evaluating. Your teammates are evaluating. They see you play. There's no wonder that kid's playing third base, hitting 3-hole. He does it day in and day out,
When we come to the ballpark today, it's a new day. It's a great opportunity to get better, but we're in this thing together. And that's really been kind of my mission as a head coach. It's not easy, but that's been my mission, is that every day when my guys come to the field, they look forward to coming to the field, good or bad, based on how we're playing. So that's something that's pretty important to me.
We have a very loose atmosphere here. It's more of a player-coach relationship here, and I think a lot of them really appreciate that, especially the Division I transfers, where I know there's a lot more pressure at that level to win, and sometimes they're coming from programs that might be run a little bit more strict. If we're doing our job right, we're going to create a fun environment, and our captains are going to run the practices for us, run the games for us, keep everyone in line off the field, and kind of know what to expect out of Sam and I each and every day.
And we've tried to create this family atmosphere here, and it helps when we've been together this long, for 22 years. Plus we knew each other before that. We were friends, we were college teammates. So I think the team kind of feeds off of that. They see kind of how we interact with each other, the fun that we're having out here, and we try to bring that same family atmosphere to the team. Try to create events that's going to do that, throughout the year. Some team bonding things that they can have some fun with, and I think they, a lot of these kids come from different backgrounds and different programs, and it ends up becoming a lot of fun, and I think that's when we get the best out of them.
So I think we have most of our guys can walk off that field and go, yeah, I'm a starter. You better believe I am. this is what I do daily. I can, do 3 or 4 things consistently. Whereas we have some other guys that can do 1 or 2 things really well, but they see where they fall short. And so we repeat this process over and over.
I think we try to make things as competitive as we can, simulate live as much as we can. Teach when moments are, more after the fact as opposed to stopping everything. And, we just want everything to be moving so much that we don't have time to teach at the moment. We have to do a good job of pulling a guy aside afterwards and pointing that out. I tell recruits sometimes, our hitters might have the equivalent of a major league season, 500-600 at-bats by the time the season ends. So you have roughly 200 as a starter, but you're gonna get 300 to 400 between scrimmages and things that we do. Even our bullpen sometimes are thrown to live hitters so that those guys can get reps on that bat and then the pitcher can get feedback.
Best hitting and pitching coach I got. Right here. One of the things that I was really blessed to be a part of as an assistant coach, I've had the experience of being an assistant coach and being a head coach, and I was a head coach at 31 years old, so I was really, really young when I became a head coach, so I still had an assistant coach's mindset to a degree for those first couple years because the guys that were my assistant coaches when I became a head coach were my age. It wasn't like I was the old dude in the room and everybody else is young and just waiting for me to speak, right? So it was much more of a shared vision and a collective effort working together. It was a coaching staff, not head coach, pitching coach, hitting coach, base running coach. This is a we thing and we're in this thing together.
Our day-to-day and practice plan, everything is very holistic. We have a lot of heads in the room, from strength coaches to me, to hitting coaches, to Bradley, our infield coordinator, to pitching coach on trying to develop the best product we can have on the field to win games. So it's just all different areas of the game and trying to be specific with everything we do when we plan practice day to day to get better or 1% better.
It's the family. If we did it right while they were here, they're gonna have a feel of family that they'll be coming back. I have them over at my house. We have a little lake house, and it's great to see them all come back with their kids now. And they hear it from Coach Jimenez all the time of what to expect from us each day. He knows the ups and downs of how we run the program because he was here for 4 years as a player.
Played here 2006 to 2009. We won 2 World Series while I was here. Went to a 3rd and lost. So we had a pretty good run for 4 years while I was here. Then got drafted by the Angels. Played 4 years in their farm system. Got up to AA. Was in that weird transition of spring training, whether continue to play or about to get released, and just talked to Coach and told me come back, and I've been here since 2013.
We're going to meet every single day as a coaching staff, and I'm going to ask every coach in that room, what do you think we need to work on today? What do you think we need to do today? And give them the opportunity to give me feedback. I think a coach, as an assistant, you need to have a voice, and you need to make sure that you share your opinion, even if it's something that you don't think the head coach is going to like. I really like my guys to be brutally honest, give me honest feedback about what they think, and not just wait for me to tell them what I think or tell me what I want to hear. I don't need that. I already know what I think. I don't need you to just, if you agree, you agree, and if you don't, please tell me, because your perspective could help me tremendously.
One of my favorite things here is we really don't push things on dudes. There's not one way to hit here. We know what we're trying to do. We know what the bottom line is. How are we going to get there? Everybody's different. So try to bring out all these things, and if you take to it, great. If you want more of it, I'm here. We'll do it. But I'm not shoving it down anybody's throat. But the perspective I bring to our guys is I played for these 2 guys. I've been in your shoes. I've been screamed at. I've been, whatever. I've had to run because we've lost or whatever it may be. Some of them have taken to some parts more than others, and it's okay. Some guys are not about it, and it's perfectly fine. But at the end, it's all going to work out. It's all going to work out. You do what they ask you to do, We'll be there at the end. We have a chance, and that's all. You need to buy in.
It's hard for young people to realize that like playing decisions are not personal. There's a player and then there's the person. And every person that we deal with, every like student athlete is an outstanding person, you know? Player-wise, flawed, but they don't see it that way, you know? And I didn't see that way. But how we run everything is it's all ironed out on that field. Like, I can tell you being on the other side of it now, like we don't close the door and talk about kids that we like personally or anything like that. It's all about like who's earned it.
I'd rather get it wrong in the office so we get it right on the field, right? So if I think you're wrong or you think I'm wrong, that's great in the office. Let's make sure that we're not wrong when we're on the field by the time it gets to the players. We want to make sure that everybody has had that opportunity to share what they believe in. And I let my coaches coach. I don't get in their way. I know what they believe in and what they're teaching and what they're doing, and I give them the freedom to do their job.
We all bring great ideas to the table, and we're willing to try them and see if they help our team get better. Because at the end of the day, our job is to put the best product on that field and develop our kids that we have in our program here. And if we do that, then we'll be successful on the field. But we're very strategic in what we do every day, from a team concept to an individual concept.
The bond you create while you're here is like no other, and I've learned that what we've created here is unmatched, and it's part of the reason why we have the success we have, because guys know they can be themselves.
Player development when I was growing up, quite honestly, it was keep your hands back and hit the ball at the middle. I remember when Tony Gwynn said take the knob of the bat to the ball. And that was like the holy grail of hitting at that point, right? If Tony Gwynn says take the knob of the bat to the ball, you take the knob of the bat to the ball. That was pretty much the extent of hitting instruction for me. Keep your hands back, hit the ball up the middle, take the knob of the bat to the ball. Hit the top half of the baseball.
Yeah, and I still go back to the University of Maine, who had just come off a third place finish in Omaha and lost to eventual national champ Arizona. When I went to Maine, Coach Winken was such a detailed-oriented coach that I'll never forget that in our indoor field house, positional players had to take off their shoes and get into a sliding position and scoot on the floor to feel where all the weight needs to be on a slide, which I don't even know if you can do that because the weight actually should be out on the flat of the shin, and so the weight is kind of on our fanny, right? And so that was player development back then, believe it or not. Like, player development was so much more about these tiny details.
You know, as I've moved forward and got into professional baseball as a player, began to work on, you know, how to use your legs properly. Separation, you know, never heard that term until I got into professional baseball, and that was a big buzzword. When I first got into coaching, I played with the Rangers for a year, and it was get your foot down early. So I went through that whole process of believing that was the way to teach hitting. Separate, get your foot down early so you're on time to the fastball.
So now player development is everything. I mean, kids are so well versed in everything. That's why as a coach, you can almost say, fellas, we can't get to the speed part of it, but the information's everywhere. If you want to get faster, you can get faster. That's such a D3 level truth that's not even funny. So player development's different. Kids eat better now. They're more aware of it. I mean, I don't even think I drank water in college.
With the technology today, you know, these kids are starting to really focus more on the power part of the game of, you know, how fast can I throw it? How far can I hit it?
I think what has changed is definitely the way baseball is played. You know, we've had to adjust a little bit of our coaching skills to kind of adapt to a little bit of what's going on. You know, we went from you know, us growing up and playing college ball here to now what with all the technology that's happening now. So that's kind of the biggest, I think, adjustment that we've had to make.
So it's our job as college coaches to kind of pull them back a little bit and go a little bit more old school and slow down and teach them the game. And that's what we do here. From practice one, we're talking about, you know, where we're going to hit first base and making sure we're rounding the bases right and going through bunting techniques. None of these kids have bunted all their life because they've hit, you know, third and fourth in every, you know, AAU lineup. So now they're in college and they're hitting eighth. And how are we going to score runs? And they're learning the importance of a sacrifice bunt, a suicide bunt, of moving a runner over, man on second, no outs, trying to drive the right side instead of just, a selfish at bat of how far can I hit it to my pull side.
A couple years ago, we started with the flight scope. We used that for a year. Didn't know much about it, but we were getting information. Last year, we started with the Acrotech, so it's good. We use it on our inter squads, all our home games, be able to go into the baseball cloud and break that down and be able to see all the information that is spitting out on a daily basis. And to be able to use that with our guys, like, hey, now what we're seeing, the numbers are backing it up, and it's been tremendous. I do bring out the blast motion every once in a while just to let them see what their swings are doing. And then I started messing around with this little video delay just so they take their 5-7 swings, whatever the round may be, and they can see it on the back end. Without anybody really coaching, but at least they get to see, hey, this is what I look like. Just try to give them a bunch of different things that they can use. We don't go crazy on anything, but we are adapting, and I think you have to in this game nowadays.
And that's the fun part of our game is teaching these kids, because I do believe with what they have in front of them these days, with the strength coaches, the hitting coaches, all the technology, we're getting a better athlete, we're getting a stronger athlete. But I still want to make sure we're taking that athlete and getting the most out of them, to help them, reach their goals.
When we going in, we be going all day, and we ain't coming out until we get our victory. What you say now? Feel it, we gon' feel it to the ceiling. Champion with the champagne over spilling. There is no competition, we the winners, always winning. You all up in your feelings when we step up in the building. Wait a minute, yo. Here we go, put a hand up in the air. Here we go, from the front to the rear. 'Cause we be getting down when we come around. We be getting down, ain't no stopping it. Better rock with it and roll, baby, let it roll, baby. Get down.
Resources, I think, play a big part in today's new player development. But I do think people are starting to realize the danger in some of the filming and metrics and so on and so forth. We've got a freshman right now that is off the chart with the quote-unquote, new age player. The bat speed, the distance he hits a baseball, exit velocity. He's a 93 to 95 mile an hour arm in right field. This kid has all D1 tools. He's not a very good baseball player right now.
I think that actually the game is starting to trend back to more of a traditional model when it comes to swing training. You're hearing a lot more guys now talk about try to get on top of the ball and hit low line drives, simply because now pitchers are pitching up in the zone a lot more. If you swing up and pitchers are throwing up, you're never going to hit it. So it's the cat and mouse game, I think, and the changes in the adjustment. Pitching always seems to be ahead of hitting when it comes to the development piece.
There's a balance to it. We're far more on the older school side of things because we don't have the resources. Our pitching coach really likes a lot of the newer things. He wants metrics, he wants to know spin rate, so on and so forth. So I'm not really sure where that fits in our program, to be honest with you. It's new for us. Southwestern, who our former player that was our first draft guy, is the head coach at Southwestern. They've put huge resources, thousands of dollars, into all the metrics and filming and everything they have. We're watching them to kind of see what gains they can make. If it works in D3, we'll kind of start to join that path, that stream. But right now, for us at our level, it still goes back to more of the older school way, if you will, which is lifting weights, getting hand strength. I would rather measure hand strength than I would spin rate. Let me put it that way. And so we're still doing that. We're still going through trying to hit a line drive as opposed to lifting a baseball.
The launch angle exit velocity term, well, that's always been there, but it's been demonized in the game by guys that don't understand it. The launch angle is a post-contact metric. It is not a swing. So when I hear guys talking about he's swinging for launch angle, they don't understand the difference between attack angle and launch angle, which just drives me nuts.
You know, maybe they're able to get their spin rate or whatever it is they're after on a certain pitch, or their launch angle on a certain swing. Maybe they're able to get it to what they want but how do they get there? You know, and teaching them how they were able to get there so they're able to repeat it. And that's a big part and the toughest part of our job, because they're just wanting numbers. And if I get to this number, you know, I'm a professional athlete. No, it's not that easy. These guys were great hitters in the big leagues for a long time before they started, you know, changing some of their approach to try to hit certain numbers.
And I think that's one thing that we find in baseball that's really killing our game is people criticize things they don't understand. Gain an understanding of it first, and then if you want to be critical of it, that's fine. But you have to gain an understanding of it first. So I'm very, very careful about new age versus old school. I find value in both and try to blend the two together. I try to use old school wisdom and experience, but also look at data and technology to give me some truth behind what's going on, because their numbers don't lie. So it's really just trying to find that happy medium when it comes to player development, to package it to the player where they understand it.
One of the things we fight in Division III is the information and knowledge that's out there that they get from the pro level. And I have to say, you're not a pro. Like, yeah, if I'm that good at hitting a baseball, sure, I want to launch angle it too. But we got to work on quality contact. We got to work on hard ground balls, which turn into a line drive. Like the old school style of hitting was go attack the top half of the baseball, because the barrel's always dropping on you. And if you hit the top half, you'll hit a ground ball, maybe it gets through, you feel good, you get a hit. But that barrel, the truth is, it's gonna start dropping, get into the center of the baseball, here comes a line drive, it drops a little bit more, there's a home run, that type of stuff. We still kind of teach that. They fight us on it, but and I am okay with them fighting us on it. I'm very fluid that way, but I'm gonna slowly kind of trick them into, you'll start hitting these line drives and watch when you start taking off. That launch angle, to me, that ain't a D3 thing. Like, you gotta be really good to try and get that angle off the bat head.
You know, ultimately, it doesn't matter if you're a big data analytic guy if the players don't understand it. And it doesn't matter if you're an old school traditional guy if the players don't understand it. You've got to bridge that gap. And that's where I try to really use both. I value analytics and data. I also value old school baseball development. And I think if we just keep it that simple, don't criticize what you don't understand, have an open mindset to new ways of doing things and see, does this work? Then the game will continue to grow in the right direction. But if we keep getting I'm on one side of the fence or the other, we're just going to continue to have what we have in the game today, which is, a lot of guys butting heads on whether they should swing down, swing up, launch angle, no launch angle. And it's my job to make sure I have experience and understanding of all of it to the best of my ability, and try to help the player individually within all of those contexts.
My guess is that they start to pay attention to the concept of, trying to hit a hard line drive, a hard ground ball will actually result in the old school gap to home run.
We'll keep learning, with the new way and all the technology, but we're never going to lose the heart and what we believe in of some of the old school ways.
One of the things that I think the game can really do a better job of is when it comes to using high-level data and technology, especially technology, is making it as easy as you can for guys who don't understand the information or how to use the tool. Create tools that are user-friendly where people can apply it instantly. I think what happens to a lot of guys in baseball It's like they look at something like a Rapsodo or a TrackMan or a bat sensor, and they look at it and they don't understand it, so therefore they just don't want to use it, period. And if we can start to create tools in the game that are simple and user-friendly and easy to use, I think more guys would be open to experimenting and trying it to see, what is this all about? So I hope that, as the game continues to progress, that there's more user-friendly things out there for coaches who don't have a technology background or a data background, and that they can use it and apply it and find value in it.
Everyone has a story, and I'm Greg Brown, and this is my story.
Everyone has a story. I'm Justin Stone, and this is my story.